Three, two, one. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. I'm Ash. It's another story time live stream with me and you, and you're all here with me. And I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm having troubles right now. Sorry it took so long to get this thing going. I cannot get the live chat to come up. For some reason, the Streamlabs program that I use, OBS Streamlabs is what it's called, which is really cool once you get everything working and you get past the learning curve. I think you can do a lot more than you can with StreamYards, but you can't. It doesn't connect to the chat for some reason, and it has to pop up in a new window, and then I pop up the new window, and nothing happens. It just blank, which is kind of tough for me to interact with you and type in the chat, which I don't do a whole lot of anyway, but I want that option. You know what I'm saying? I do have my iPad running, so if you're in the chat, I mean, I can read the chat. I just can't type in it. Well, I can on my other account. That's why you see Ash1138 from Ash on Comics. That's my personal account. So how's everyone doing tonight? I've been doing these impromptu streams. Like, I haven't been planning them. I guess I should plan ahead to get probably more viewers, but I don't necessarily do this for the views. I do this more to interact with you guys and read some comics. So if you're in the chat, say hello. I appreciate it. Tehillim, I see, says good to see you. Good to see you too, buddy. Melissa Harris, hello to you. And Kay, good to see you. If you don't mind, I like to use you guys as my advertising. If you guys could share on your whatever social media of your choice, that would benefit me as far as like finding people out in the social media sphere. It's very difficult. It's very difficult, especially when you have a stream that no one really knows about, and so forth. So that's what I'm doing right now, actually, myself, to kind of reach out to any followers I have. Let's see. All right. So how's everyone doing tonight? Don't see a lot of activity. Is everyone asleep? Did I start this too late? I think that's my problem, is I start this too late. Hopefully you guys are doing well in the worldwide lockdown. It's really driving me nuts, man. I have some serious cabin fever. I don't know how you guys are handling it. Hopefully we get a couple more people to show up. It's funny, is I can't really share the stream until I get it going. So otherwise, I kind of would do this ahead of time. But so now I'm kind of doing it with you guys on air live. So Kay says it's morning here. Where are you, Kay? I'm sure obviously on the other side of the globe. Part of the world are you listening in from? Go find my tweets. I'll post this on my Discord now for no one to care about. All right. So, have anyone given it a thought about what kind of comics they'd like me to read next? What would be entertaining for them? Saudi Arabia, huh? All right. How are things out in that part of the world? That's It's a different, very different part of the world from where I'm at. Let's see. There's a comic that I wanted to read tonight. I was hoping to get a little more viewers because it's, I think, something to be a little bit more popular. And it is Young Justice, #1, but not the new run, which is, Brian Michael Bendis. This was recommended to me. This is Peter David's Young Justice. This was recommended to me by Eric Breen, and to be like, this is, the Young Justice that should be. And I was like, all right, Peter David's a good writer. Check this out. So I have the first issue, and I thought it'd be kind of fun maybe to read that. Oh, here's a good place. So hopefully it's we're just gonna do one issue, and then the second issue I'm thinking about doing is one of my favorite comics. And I did a show for a while back. Melissa was probably there. She's been watching the channel for a while. Back when I had the Ash and Bats show, we used to feature a trade paperback every week. We did the episode, and we'd feature a certain trade paperback. And one of the ones we did was Birthright. And we did that first volume, which covers issues 1 through 6, and it was so fantastic. And what we did on those is Bats and I would each take turns recommending a trade paperback to read. And, it would be something blind, something that we'd want like others to read. And we would tell you like a week ahead of time, so you as the reader could, read along with us. We didn't read the book out. We would read it during the week and then come back the following week and talk about it and kind of do like a live review and discussion and get people involved in the audience. It was a fun show. I miss doing that. And one of the books we did was called Birthright. And I didn't know anything. I knew barely a little bit about the book at the time. And so, we covered it. I read the book that week. I fell head over heels for the book. I loved this book, and I ended up going out and getting all the issues. I went on eBay. I found a lot of the books and bid on it, won it, and now I have all the issues. It's currently like in the 40s, if comics ever come back. But yeah, it's why the first 3 trades you can get on Comixology Unlimited and read them. In fact, also, for those of you who maybe if you want to follow along tonight and you have your computer or something or tablet or phone or whatever, Comixology has the very first issue of Birthright for free. It's just on sale for free, so you can get the book, and no obligation. So I always recommend free stuff because, hey, it's free. Why not? So I am not particularly a Young Justice fan by any stretch of the imagination. I did review all 6 issues of the new Bendis Justice run because, why not? And it was pretty terrible. That's how I came along this book, because Eric Breen was like, this is what you should read. And Comixology had this book for free. I'm not sure if it's still free. You can check. It might be. It was free at the time when I went there, so I was like, all right, I'll pick it up. And I just added it to my collection and didn't read it or anything. Because like I said, I'm not really a Young Justice fan. First of all, I'm not big into legacy characters. So I know those of you who've listened to me in the past, you guys know that I'm not a legacy guy, and it's mostly because I just want the best version of a certain character, right? Let's say if my favorite character is Batman, I don't want token Batmans, other ones running around of a different variety. Like, I just want the prime main thing. Um, and if you have like 5 other variations of Batman running around, yeah, they're each their own characters, and I'm sure other people can like them even more than the main. I don't know, but it to me it kind of weakens it dilutes it, if you will. Um, and I just think that characters are better if they just stand on their own. And I'm not saying that you can't necessarily have another street level vigilante, that's similar to Batman. It just, why does he have to be, you know, and I'm using Batman probably because they don't have a lot of tokens for him. Um, but like, Spider-Man is probably a better example. Like, I don't need 6 other Spider-Man characters or Spider-Women or Spider-Girls or Spider-somethings. Like, there's Peter Parker, and that's all I need. Like, oh, look there, but there's this other guy, and he's got the same powers almost, and he's a kid too, and he runs around the same suit, and it's like, he could still be that character. Look at what DC did as an example, right? When they did their New Age of Heroes, they did a character called Sideways, which instantly everyone kind of recognized, like, oh, this is kind of an analog for Spider-Man in the DC universe. But while he had a similar personality, kind of, he's a younger kid, he's dealing with school and like things that like older teenagers deal with and everything, and the things that might make a Spider-Man character alluring. He didn't have to run around with spider webs and be a Spider-Man. Like, Marvel could have just as easily created a Sideways character, right? And it'd still be the fun character. Miles Morales, just using it as an example, doesn't need to have spider powers. He could be the exact same personality. If people like Miles Morales, I argue that you shouldn't need to like him because he wears a Spider-Man suit and has spider powers. If the character's personality is what you like and what he does, he should be able to have, say, Sideways' powers instead, but be the personality and the characteristics and everything, the background of Miles Morales, and you should still like him equally the same. In fact, I would argue for myself, at least, that I would be more attracted to the character potentially. But that's neither here nor there. That's just me explaining my mindset about what I really don't like about legacy characters. And especially when I look here on this cover, I go, okay, how many Robins have there been? 6, 7 Robins now. No one can count how many Flashes there are. And Superboy, well, if we count Superman himself as once being Superboy, how many are there? 3, 4 Superboys? It's just like, oh God, and it's just so derivative. And in a world that we live in where people are always complaining about like, oh, like, here's an example. One of my favorite movies, and I know some people are going to groan about this, and I get picked on quite a bit. And I see Jimmy's in the audience, so Jimmy, you'll probably relate to this. My favorite movies is Avatar. But it's a really popular movie to bash because, anything that's popular always has a huge amount of haters. And so I get it all the time. Oh, it's Ferngully. And it's like, no, it's not Ferngully. If you obviously haven't seen Ferngully, or you haven't seen Avatar, or you haven't seen either. But people, like, they jump on that bandwagon. They like, oh, it's not original. It's so derivative. And that is true. Avatar is derivative, right? It's Dances with Wolves in space, which is a fair comparison than Ferngully, but most people can't make that connection. And also most people who don't understand films haven't seen Dances with Wolves anyway, so they don't, and whatever. My point being is, I get made fun of a lot, and oh, that's a stupid movie, whatever. It's derivative, and I agree, it is derivative. And James Cameron didn't pull out this huge bag of originality when he made the film. The reason I like Avatar isn't because of its originality. I really like it because it's execution. And now I'm kind of getting lost with where I was going with my original point here. But, oh man, where was I going? Oh, so I can like something that is derivative if you pull it off well. So I guess that's kind of what I'm saying here, maybe with Young Justice and trying to give it a shot, is, I always try to be open-minded. And even though I may not initially be prone or predisposed to enjoying something, and I might have mental blocks in front of me. I'm being honest, and I think for you guys to understand, if I'm giving you my opinions and impressions of something, understanding where I come from, hopefully matters. Eric Breen's in the house. Good to see you. He's groaning because he's old and he probably hurt his knee. Let's see. Comic Quirks is in the house. If you watch Avatar with Looking for Politics is the best. What? If you watch Avatar with Looking for Politics is one of the best sci-fi movies ever. Okay, well, I agree it's one of the best sci-fi movies, but I don't know about the politics. I didn't care about any of the politics. I didn't really think it had much politics, to be honest. It just used a really common trope of white, not white. That's so stupid. I'm getting caught up into the stupid narrative. It uses the common trope of the rich business, the big corporation, picking on the little guy to exploit, which is it's a common trope. Like we can look or see it around in throughout history. The rich exploit the poor. It's very much analogous to the colonists when they came to the United States. Originally the Pilgrims were just like, they were fleeing tyranny. They're like, we just want to be free, And then, of course, once everything got established and people started making wealth in the New World and people started getting rich themselves and powerful, then they became the exploiters and started exploiting the natives. And not everyone did, but a small few, the powerful, look, there's a bunch of free land and we just need to move these Indians off it and it can be mine. It's like, it's a tale that's just a timeless tale, and we can identify with it because it's human nature. It's part of our history. And Avatar told that sort of tale in a new, interesting way. Instead of just saying, oh, look, here's colonialists moving Native Americans, they were like off in space and had flying rocks and they flew on dragon-like creatures, and it just was a visual spectacle, and it was neat. The concept of being an avatar, of like being able to put your consciousness in another body, was a cool concept. It's not super original, but no one's really done it that way. Anyways, who cares? Avatar's fun. And I'm hoping that this book is fun. And if it's not, Eric Breen is in the chat, and I've singled him out with the blue text so you can see his wrench. And you can throw tomatoes and say, boo, this book sucked, Eric, because it's on his recommendation that I'm reading it. Tahilim says, Batman Legacy of the Private Investigator in a Batsuit. Yep. Okay, so I think we got enough people here, and I think I've blathered on long enough. Let me take a drink. Oh, man. I think I should have filled up my drink before I started this. That would have been smart. All right, so I'm going to need an intermission after this book. So this is Young Justice #1. They're not JLA Jr. They're Young Justice, Robin, Superboy, Impulse. All right. The horror. Good Lord! Choke. My hand. It's been eaten by killer cockroaches and replaced with a batarang. Don't worry, Robin. No one will notice. By the way, have you ever considered growing a beard? The horror. What the heck is up with this? It was inevitable, Superboy. That's what happens when you're so holier than thou. My God, the horror. What's happening? I'm going through high-speed changes. Enclose. Oh, geez, it's hard to read this. Enclose personality. It's getting so Impulse not know who Impulse is anymore. Puny humans, Impulse will flash. Ah! Young, just us. Oh, look, they're all sitting around a little campfire or somewhere. They're having a sleepover. Peter David Writer, Todd Nauk, penciler, Larry Strucker, inker, Jason Wright, colors, and most importantly, I know you were probably dying to know who did the separations, but that was Digital Chameleon. Very important credit there. Eric says your Batman voice needs work. Hey, look, I'm no what is it? Conroy? Tim Conroy? What's the guy? Is it Tim Conroy? What's his first name? Anyways, you guys know who I'm talking about. I'm not him. And he's the only person on the planet that can essentially do a Batman voice without some sort of computer enhancement. So, what am I supposed to do? I'm just a schmo on his laptop in quarantine on YouTube. Bad dreams, guys? No problems, Rob. I was fine. Slept like a dog. Logs don't sleep. Oh, yeah. Ever see one walking around? You guys are lucky. I had this bizarre nightmare. It was as if I had lost control of my life. I was turning into some unrecognizable, grim, gritty, depressing, as if some maniacal power was doing terrible things to me just to serve some some demented whim. Sure, whatever. Look, I was all for forming this club, but this is boring. We need some action. Meantime, as fate and parallel story construction would have it, at a convenient archaeological dig not far away. Day 18 of our dig. Professor Nina Dowd recording. I am convinced that this crater is indeed the result of a strike by some extraterrestrial object several thousand years ago. I'm not sure why, but I'm certain today will be the day that we hit pay dirt. Professor Dowd, we found something. You better get down here. What have you found, Murph? You're not going to believe it, Professor. Yeah, it's Kevin Conroy. I don't know why. Lately I've been getting mixed up with the names where like I just blank out on the first name and then I can't nail it. I'm just like, oh my God, it's not. Yeah, Kevin Conroy. Yeah, and I'm a dork. Anyways, I'm not him. And so much salute to him. Eric Breen is pointing out that I have 666 subscribers. And apparently I am now going to hell. And since you're here listening to this stream, you're probably coming with me. Continue on. It's a wheel with a tire and everything. And I'm reasonably sure it's attached to something. All right, time out. This is a crater that's been here for 1,000 years. Inside's got a wheel with a tire. Tires don't last for thousands of years. Must be a space tire. All right, continuing. This could be the biggest thing since Piltdown Man. Piltdown Man was a hoax, Murph. Oh, right. Well, even bigger then. It doesn't appear to be modern-day rubber, but some other substance entirely. All right. Bravo, Peter David. Because see, Peter David, little trivia for you guys, was actually a sci-fi author before writing comics. So, like a true sci-fi author, he thought of the exact same thing I was thinking, and he explained it to the audience. Bravo. Anyways, continuing. Professor, I wouldn't touch it if I were you. You don't know where it's been. Don't be absurd. It's a relic. What could possibly... Boafoom! Call the authorities! Which one, Murph? All of them! while back at the ex-JLA headquarters. Look, I think things are going fine so far. We've been getting to know each other, trading stories, even wound up sacking out here because we're having a good time. It's a little early in our team's career to start chaffing from inaction. That's all I'm saying. What's that, chafing? Chafing from inaction? Yeah, but Rob, I'm not like this statue here. There's a whole wide world out there and a ton of options for a guy like me. Sitting around waiting for a call of action with you and the human flit gun over there isn't floating my boat, you know? Look, I'll take monitor duty. Whoopee freaking do. Look, I found this in the storage bins. Let's redecorate. No. Ah, man, I so do not need this. Oof. We rule. Cool. Hansen bites. Oh my god, this is dated. Dated. No, I didn't. Did I think? I wasn't thinking Tim Conway. I was just mixing up the name, Dane. What? Hansen bites? Oh, come on. By the way, I forgot to do this. You dope. You're lucky I can take this stuff off with my tactile telekinesis. Huh? Oh yeah, lucky. But doesn't it look cooler now? Well, yeah, it does look cooler. For crying out loud, we're being loaned this meeting space by the JLA. Don't you get that? We can't just thrash it however we see it. How are we going to function as a team if we don't have respect for other teams? Surfing, dude. Maybe we shouldn't be a team then. True. It's not like we have anything in common. How are we supposed to relate to each other? Perhaps if you approach the matter from the Freudian psychoanalytic terms. Ack! Cripes! I just thought he was a statue or something. Oh, you actually thought for once. The three of you actually fit the Freudian archetypes of id, ego, and superego. You, Impulse, are from a future where your development was hyper-accelerated and you grew up through computer games. You have no concept of danger or mortality. You are pure living id, all instinct, no before or afterthought. Superboy, you are a clone raised artificially with developmental knowledge that was not experienced firsthand. You are ego, with a grasp of morality and ethics, capable of making basic judgment calls. Robin, you are the latest assistant to the Batman and the only one here to have anything approaching a normal boyhood. You have a highly developed moral sense and are the most natural leader. You are superego. Wait a minute. How come I don't get to be the superego? I'm super. He should be Robin, the boy ego. Oh, this is idiotic. You're the Red Tornado, aren't you? What are you doing here? I had withdrawn from humanity because I had, in fact, lost my humanity. I had believed that without my humanity, there was little to no purpose to my continuing to exist. However, in the past few minutes, I have begun to believe that perhaps, just perhaps, there is some small aspect of human feeling left to me. Why? Because I find that you three annoy the hell out of me. I feel an urge to smack you, particularly Impulse. For that, I am indebted to you. Thank you. You're welcome, I guess? Alright, let's take a look at the comments here. It says Hansen does bite. God, but that's so dated, man. It's like 90s. Ash Comics Funny. I'm currently reading this as FF2. Dominic Powell says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you, sir. Glad you could join us. Dane says, I thought this was Rick Remender again. Dane was having PTSD flashbacks. He's like, nah! Oh, continuing on. Hey, there's something on the monitors. Something happened with the archaeological dig not far away. Let's go check it out. Finally, some action. Tornado, how did you know all that stuff about us? I have detailed files on over 1,500 beings that I'm constantly updating. There are 19 on Hawkman alone. So, what's the deal on this dig, Imp? MacGuffin University sponsored an exploration into this weird crater. Some sort of artifact was discovered, and it zapped one of the diggers. I don't know anything else. Imp, do me a favor. Don't give me the straight lines like that. What part of keep back aren't you hearing? We are in charge here. Don't you get that? The next person who questions that, I snap their spines, okay? Yikes. My partner is quite correct. I suggest all of you keep back, because if you do not, I may have to shoot you for your protection. Hi, Ace Atchinson with CDTV. I was on the way to cover the concert tour of the Black Lung Disease, but I hear about this and it sounded happening. Who are you guys? I am Special Agent Donald Feet. This is my partner, Special Agent Ishido Mad. And this interview is over. Is that Donald Feet or Donald Fight? I don't know. Hey, you shot our camera, dude. Check with that guy there, Rob. He looks government issue. I see him, kid. Excuse me. Are you FBI? Are you in charge here? No, DEO. And I'm not running this investigation. Department of Extranormal Operations. Those two are, and believe me, you want to steer clear of them. How come? Because they're fighting mad, that's why. They're fighting mad. Oh, man. Melissa is blowing me off for Chuck Norris again. Wow. All right, they make DVRs for this purpose, Melissa. I know. Anyways, have a good night. Enjoy Chuck. I could never live up to that. I should never even try. Okay, so fighting mad. That's a nice, funny joke. Oh, I'm so scared. Hey, who's the dead kid who just ran past here? Whoa, looks like some kind of weird cocoon or something. I wonder what's in it. Hey, no one pops one of my teammates. I was shooting to wound, but I could be convinced otherwise. Oh, really? Could I convince you to shove your head up your own... At ease, young sir. This is now a government operation. RID. What the heck? DEO, FBI, Interpol, CIA, Secret Service, Scotland Yard, Smirsh, for crying out loud. You can't have IDs from all those agencies. We're from the All-Purpose Enforcement Squad, Multinational Cooperative Task Force. We have more clearance than God. No, you little idiot. Don't stick your head in... And he sticks his head into the... whatever it is. Kaboom! Impulse! Imp, you okay, Imp? Yeah, fine, why? That was a stupid chance, Impulse. If anyone's going to take stupid chances, it should be Superboy. Yeah, if anyone should... Wait a minute. I just meant, Superboy, you're less likely to misjudge. Uh-huh. Foolish males. Once I was mere Nina Dowd, but no more. Now I am mighty endowed. Oh God. Oh, Eric Breen. What did you recommend me? Oh. Wow. She certainly's got huge tracts of land. Superboy. This isn't fear. It's anticipation. We're supposed to fight her? If there's a God, then yes. I see you up there, trembling in fear. I will defeat you all. I will... No, too top heavy. I can't. Whomp. Oh, jeez. She's doing that circular motion with her arms to keep her balance. And she fell forward because she's too top heavy. Get the joke? Aw, nerds. Oh, man. Gentlemen, with all due respect, this might be something more of up our alley. Why don't you authorize us to go down and check this out for you firsthand? Yeah, you can trust them. They're the Teen Titans. No, we're not. Oh, right. They're the Young Justice League of America. No, we're young, but just us. Oh, okay. Young Justice. No, young, just us. Right, Young Justice. Fine, whatever. Shh. All right, gentlemen, check it out. See what's what. Fight, are you crazy? No, he is merely assuming that if there's danger is there, that it is preferable to send in the youngsters as convenient cannon fodder. Sounds like a plan. Superboy, you think you can manage to pull it out? Not a problem. All you have to do is touch it and my tactile telekinesis can... Man, will you stop blabbering about your stupid power? You act like you're filling in someone who's just met you. Enough already. Oomph. Do you mind? Okay, fine, whiz-bang. You do it then. Impulse, stay put. Superboy, get it done. Who died and left you in charge? Oh, don't you even go there. Now, will you just... You're not the boss of me. Fine, you win. I'm not the boss of you, as long as the job gets done. If that's all that matters, then I'm just the guy to do it. Whoa, it's a... What is it? Whatever it is, it's mine. I'm calling it the Super Cycle. Oh, I don't think so. Why would we ride around in something that gives you top billing? No one is going to ride around in it. Weird. Buried under all this rock for who knows how long, but it feels warm somehow. I wonder why first contact with it transformed it into that ordinary woman into that. Booby trap. Oh, man. Get it? Booby trap? Uh-oh. I think I just activated it. Well, that was really using your head. Will you shut up and get me out of here? It's revving up. Why not get yourself out? 'Cause some force is holding me tight. Arr, you're going to yank my arms out of my sockets. Well, then what are we supposed to do? Hold on. Did it say hold on? Don't worry, I can force it to stay on the ground with my tactile Yeesus! What the hell just happened? Id, ego, and superego unleashed. I could explain it in more detail, but I'll need a slide projector and some charts. Hey, I like Hansen. Ba-doom boom. Oh my goodness. Meantime, as they rapidly approach the ionosphere with the supercycle, ignoring both Robin's guidance and Superboy's you-know-what, we find our team finally united in one thing. Ah! Pure, undiluted panic. Cool. For the most part. Next, The Boys' Wild Ride, or Splatter Mountain. Bum, bum, ba-dum. Young Justice. The end. Oh, man. That was cornball. Hopefully you guys in chat. Hopefully you got a little bit of entertaining for just how cheese it was. Peter David is, my experience is usually better than that. Or maybe I'm just foggy in the head. Maybe I gotta go back and read like his 90s stuff. Because I remember his Incredible Hulk being pretty decent. His X Factor was pretty good. Like, he was a decent writer. I'm shocked. And then where is Eric Breen? Eric, where are you? Oops, hiccup. I notice he's not showing his face. Not showing his face. All right, let's see. Ed says, this was much better than the What If from last night. That's true. That's the benefit of reading that What If, because now it's going to make other books seem way better, right? You know? Let's see. FF2, Ashland Comics, I prefer this over Bendis' crappy book. This is my Young Justice. This had my seal of approval. It was fun to read. I don't know what to say. I don't like Bendis' Young Justice, but I don't see how this is really much better. I mean, it is one issue, but it's really cheesy and dumb. Ed says, this wasn't bad. Good for a kid. Okay. That's a fair argument. Is it good for a kid? And I can see myself kind of wanting to agree with that. But then I think back, when I was 13 years old and getting into comics, and I was reading X-Men, and I was reading that book. See, what was it? Issue 210 that I did, where it was the fall of the mutants and the Morlocks, and then the Marauders show up and kill the Morlocks. So that's what I consider a comic book for a kid. That's what I consider cool. I read this and I go, this isn't cool. This is dorky. This is goofy. It's borderline dumb. And I guess if we want to treat kids like they're dumb and they just like silly, dumb humor, maybe. I'm not trying to say that to try to pick on anyone or insult anyone if you like this, or even if you liked it as a kid. I'm just trying to be honest with my perspective here. I didn't hate this. It's just not for me, I guess. It was a little bit too silly. But I guess that's what it's trying to be. So, sure. Let's see. Dane Barrett says, slightly better. David used to do a lot of puns in X Factor's first run, too. Yeah, he did puns, and I don't necessarily mind bad puns, or even good puns. it's just some of the dialogue and some of the antics here were just moronic. Um, like seriously, like this was like the Three Stooges of comics. These three kids. Um, let's see. The book does delve into mature topics later in the series. Okay, so like I said, I've read Peter David. I think he's a quality writer. So I guess maybe I'm surprised. I expected something different. Kay is saying Invincible or Quantum and Woody. I'm not sure, Kay, that I want to be doing either of those. I might do a singular Quantum and Woody book at a future time. I'm not sure about Invincible because people are talking about, or at least Jimmy was saying that Invincible's better as the omnibus. It's not even really written for trades. What do I rate this book? I'm going to give it 2. All right, so let's exit the reader. Dane says moronic is a good word. It just goes to show that because comics are bad today doesn't mean they were always good like in the past. Like there's clunkers. There's always been clunkers. But that wasn't a terrible book. The thing is, I read that book and I just kind of groan and I'm like, oh, this is corny. But I wasn't mad. I read some modern comic books today and I'm mad, right? Like I read, what was that new book that recently came out? Outlawed. I was just angry. Like I read the New Mutants #2 from the recent Dawn of X run. That book made me like really angry. Like I shouldn't pay money to be upset. I shouldn't be like, oh, here's my $3.99 here, cash over, and then like walk away and have negative emotions. It's one thing to just be let down and be like, oh, that was not me. That was kind of silly and like not my thing. But that book didn't piss me off. It was just like, oh, okay, this is something I let other people enjoy. So yeah, I think that's kind of the big difference of what I'm trying to illustrate, though, is like I never want to see bad comics, but I accept that they're always going to exist. What I don't want is to see like negligent comics, right? That's sort of like when you read things like that Outlawed book or some of the stuff that's in the new Dawn of X, what Bendis was doing at Marvel before he left, what he's doing at DC right now with Superman. It's just pure half-assed hack jobs, not caring about the characters, not caring about what the fans think, just destroying stuff. What Tom King was doing for Batman, like we're just not just making a failed effort. A failed effort means you put effort into it and you just failed, but literally just like not even trying, and just ruining characters to piss on them because they aren't things that you enjoy as the writer. It's like, this isn't something that's me. So I'm going to, instead of trying to stay true to the character for the fans and deliver what this character is supposed to be about, I'm going to transform it into something that's more me. It just makes me mad. Dominic says Birthright is a great fantasy series. And Dominic would be right. Computer Robots is in the house. What's up, Computer Robots? Great to see you. Action Comics, in addition to the comics, who wants to see Ash play the Injustice games, Marvel vs. Capcom series, and the Marvel Ultimate Alliance series. However, he might not have the consoles to play. I have all the consoles. I just don't have the games. So that's kind of a problem. I would definitely like to play. I'm kind of bummed. I really kind of wish I had the new Marvel Alliance 3, whatever. I love the first 2 games. I played the crap out of those, and then I was pissed off when they like canceled them. That's bullshit. Like, you should at least leave the game running so I should be able to play it. But to like just yank it and say, servers are down, can't play the game anymore. I was like, you mother. It's like, I was rage pissed. because those are fun games. It was like Diablo, which is one of my favorite games of all time. But instead of being, dark fantasy characters and beating up demons, you get to play the Marvel superheroes. And I love those sort of action RTSs that you can progress your characters. FF2 says, thinking about checking out more X books from the past, one of them being the new X-Men Academy X. All right. Good luck. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Quirk says, read Game of Thrones. I highly agree. Love Game of Thrones. It is a fantastic book series. I need to finish up on it because I stopped about halfway through when I was watching the show, and I was reading the books in conjunction as I was watching the series. So I'd read the books ahead of time, like the season ahead, then I'd watch the show, and then I'd read the book and watch the show. And that was really, really fun until I got to the third season and things started splitting off and going away from the books, and I was getting a little upset. So I liked the show so much, I was like, you know what? I'll just go back and finish these books later because I don't want to keep watching the show and getting pissed off at all the changes they're doing. Kay says he wants an Ash character, fatality move on Ash. Yeah, I'd like to get the Mortal Kombat to play Ash. That would be really fun. That's cool. Let's see. You should play the third Ultimate Alliance game because it's good, plus the expansion pass. Yes, I would love to, Computer Robots. Absolutely. But unfortunately, the United States government is sending us all into immense poverty and homelessness. And so I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to live much further, much less buy video games. So, yeah, I can't afford anything because guess what? Not allowed to leave the house or work or do anything. So that's going to be fun when my car gets repossessed and all this other fun nonsense. Let's see. Hopefully we can have an ultimate alliance of people in the States so we can overthrow this tyranny that's taking hold. Let's see. Comic Quirk says Thor, God of Thunder. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I plan on reading God of Thunder sometime in the future as well, too. I know he's not telling me to read Game of Thrones. I'm giving him shit. He should be telling me to read Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones is badass. But Ash, I love it when he didn't let the writers get away with writing characters that are out of characters that we know and love. Huh? I don't know what you're saying, Computer Robots. Yeah, I would like to read V for Vendetta someday. The movie is one of my favorite movies. Absolutely one of my favorite films. So underrated. And I should read the book someday, but not today. Does your job require you to do physical work or work from home? Well, ironically, my job is to work from home, but the problem is all the other jobs that give me work aren't doing work. So it's kind of like the problem that comic book stores are having. It's like they can stay open, but no one's shipping them comics because they're not making comics. So I'm just sitting around with nothing to do. Yeah. So that sucks. Any recommendations? Retro book recommends. I let the people in the chat recommend some of those because that takes thinking power, which will get me all sidetracked. But if something comes to mind, I'm always throwing out stuff, right? One thing that's not really retro, but, this has been out for a couple years now, is this book right here. Birthright by Joshua Williamson. We're going to read this. Comics Quirk says Ash is actually Mark Waid in disguise. What? Why would you say that? That doesn't even make sense. Not only is it insulting, it doesn't make sense. Have you ever watched the TV series Heroes? If you read Rising Stars by JMS, it served as an inspiration for the TV series. Oh, okay. I did watch the TV series Heroes, and I loved that series for the first 2 years. And then the writer strike happened and season 3 happened and that went off the fucking rails and it died and it was sad. If you like the TV series Heroes, I recommend going and finding a TV series out there called the 4400, 4400, the 4400. It came out, I think, right before Heroes. I think it ran on like the USA Network, maybe. It had, I think, 4 seasons. It ended up getting canceled like Heroes, so it didn't get to finish its ultimate big story. Heroes had slightly better production values, but the 4400 and Heroes were very similar conceptual stories. The 4400 is about this big world event happens. Quirks, this would be up your alley too, by the way. This big world event happens and these 4400 people just go missing. But boom, gone. And then I think exactly, if I remember right, I think it's like 1 year later to the day they reappear all at once in this one spot. And everyone's like, whoa, what the hell? Like, and then they kind of get, the government kind of takes them in, wants to study what the hell happened to them and all the blah, blah, blah. And then they end up, people like start dispersing. What's happening is these 4400, they start developing superpowers. And so it's kind of like the Heroes in that way, where all of a sudden these characters are like, whoa, I have superpowers. And they both, just like Heroes, they present a world where it's not a world where people accept that there are super people. It's like our real world type thing. And so it's not like the comic books where it's like, hey, a dude with powers. Hey, we see that all the time. Like, so they present it from that perspective, and it's really cool. There's a lot of drama. It's a good show. I really like the 4400 a lot. And if you can go find it, I really recommend checking it out. It's really sad that it didn't ever get to finish. Dane says it's pretty insulting. Wade is universally despised. Computer Robot says, what is everyone's favorite food? Oh, that's a tough one, man. I love food. One of my favorite foods is sushi. I guess I will check out Rising Stars by JMS, by the way. That I like J. Michael Straczynski a lot. And so Rising Stars has been on my radar. You said Mark Wade because he's a writer and Marvel is on hold right now, so I chose the first writer that comes to my head. Mark Wade is the first writer that came to your head. Oh, Jimmy. You should say I'm like Donnie Cates because I can't work and so I'm busy streaming all the time. See, that would be a more apt example. I'm just kidding. Don't compare me to Donnie Cates. Don't compare me to anyone. I'm not like anyone. However, I absolutely need to get a drink. Talking like this nonstop dries my throat out, and it's very difficult to keep talking and not then now have to clear my throat and make weird noises and all that stuff. So I'm gonna be right back. Hopefully, you guys can entertain yourself in the meantime. It should take me about 30 seconds. So, yeah, please be patient. I promise you I will not be long. All right. Thank you guys for being patient. All right. So, comic says I'm Mark Wade, and I'm sticking with it. Oh, thanks, bud. Well, Mark Wade is a total asshole and a very bad person, so I'm happy that you compare me with that. Dane says Ash is Ash. Thank you. Uh, uh, Ash is Eric Dane. You don't know him at all. Ay, 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 ay. Quirks. Anyways, let's not go off the deep end in chat. Let's talk about comics. This is gonna be a comic called Birthright that I told you guys before that I fell in love with. And I was debating on whether I should do this book or not because I kind of had covered it before on the Ash and Bat show. But I figured there's quite a few people that didn't watch the show back then, and even still, I didn't read the book on that show. I mean, I covered a lot of the details, but I didn't read it. So I couldn't think about what book I wanted to do. There were so many different choices that were out there. I haven't got a lot of suggestions. I have got some. I know some of you have suggested, but I haven't got a lot, and I'm kind of waiting for a bigger sample pool because if 3 people make a suggestion and they're all different suggestions, it's not very conclusive. If I get like 10 people to suggest a book and I get a couple of duplicate suggestions, then that kind of helps me have a direction of where I want to go. Excuse me while I drink. And then Birthright kind of just has been nagging at me because the book that I talk about, and it's a book that I can't talk about because these independent books like this, like Birthright, these image books, and there's others out there like Oblivion Song or one of my favorites, Ascender, that's out there right now. These are books that you can't discuss too much because they're not like your traditional superhero comics where, Batman, you can just jump into Batman at any time. I mean, by necessity, you have to. No one's going to go back 80 years ago and start from the beginning and like read all the Batman. It doesn't work that way. Batman's been rebooted a number of times. He's been retconned, changed. It's not one 80-year story. It's 80 years of continuous stories. But a book like Birthright and the other books that I mentioned function a lot more the way the Japanese approach with manga. And just like manga, you don't jump in. I mean, you can, but typically you're going to not want to jump in like on chapter 33 of a manga series because they're almost always one big long story. Birthright is that. It's one big story. It's all self-contained. And you want to start at the beginning. And so if I do reviews, if I do episodes on it, I tend to do a lot of spoilers and stuff. And, if I spoil book number 12, well, that it not only spoils that issue, but it helps kind of taint, if you will, or diminish all the issues before that because you kind of know where things are going to lead into. So, anyways, let's get into Birthright, shall we? This is Joshua Williamson. He writes Flash. That's what he's probably best known for. He's written over 80 issues straight. He wrote the best issues of Tom King's Batman run when he did the Button. And this guy does not get enough respect. Excuse me while I drink again. He also writes Batman vs. Superman, which is a series that I've been pretty impressed with. But this is his creme de la creme. So, Birthright, shall we? If I can figure out how to use the app. Come on, app. Work. Well, I should probably go full screen. That would probably help. Catch. Oh, man. I don't know why it doesn't save your settings. Show whole page on exit. There we go. Let's pretend I know what I'm doing, shall we? Okay, it's Josh Williamson, Andre Brisson, creator artist, Andriano Lucas, colorist, Paul Berceau, letterer, and then a ton of editors. Look at that. How many editors are on this book? It's just an indie book. There we go. Catch! Father and son playing ball out in the park. Nice, you've been practicing. Bzz, bzz. See if you can get this one. Just like Dad hurls the ball just deep into the forest. Whatever, Dad, that's easy. Hello? How you doing, sexy? As the kid runs into the woods. Oh, stop, Mike. Mikey might hear you. How are you on time? We're almost set up, and I can't wait to see the look on my baby's face. And we see they're setting up a birthday party, so obviously it's a surprise party. Hey, Bats is in the house, and Bats will remember. He was on the show when we talked about this book once upon a time. So they're doing a surprise birthday party, and obviously the dad's just trying to keep the kid occupied. He says, "We'll leave a little bit then. It's been such a nice day outside that we stopped at the park. Mikey's going to be so excited." Don't ruin the surprise, Aaron. Jeez. Mom, I'm done. Can I go play video games now? Brennan, shush. Don't interrupt people on the phone. It's rude. What are you boys doing at the park? Playing a bit of catch. So the dad's walking to the forest. But he hasn't come back from the woods yet, and hold on, honey. What? What woods? Where is he? Mom? Mikey? This isn't a game. No hide and seek today. I need you to come out now. Aaron? Aaron, talk to me. You're scaring me. He finds the baseball. Mikey! Now this would be a pretty haunt. If you've got kids, I imagine that you would find this to be a pretty nightmarish situation. This is the most recent photo. It was from a few years ago. Trying to get a jump on this year's Christmas card. Thanks. I'll get a copy off to the local hospitals. Dad, Mom and I are going to... Mikey kept asking me to take his training wheels off, and I kept forgetting. It'll be perfect for when he gets home. Have you seen my brother? Please, any help is appreciated. What do you have to say about the accusations that you, Aaron, might have been responsible for Mikey's disappearance? Excuse me? I didn't kill my son. Can't you respect our privacy? And you can see this narrative is taking place over, kind of a series of time after the disappearance, as basically the breakdown of the family. If you tell the truth, this can all go away. Just tell me what really happened. Where's Mikey? I didn't kill him. Meanwhile, back at home on another day. Why won't you believe me? You gotta give it a rest, Brennan. It's been a whole year. Stop it, Kevin. Sorry, but no. Pictures of your missing bro are bumming people out, and everyone knows that your dad killed him. Take it back! Take it back! He's beating the shit out of him. Brennan, stop! Wait! We see the house, the shutters. Everything's in disrepair. Dad? Yo, Dad, I'm home. You haven't been answering my text, so I thought I'd... Crap. Really? Mom? Today? Divorce papers. Dad, you hear? And now you can just see the horror. Not only is the son goes missing, but just the breakdown of the family this causes. Oh man, Dad, not again. Dad's just passed on the floor, drunk, total depression. Knock, knock. If you're another damn reporter, you can just go. Oh, you. What do you want? I've been trying to call your dad all morning. Maybe he doesn't want to talk to you. You ever think of... Listen, I know you hate me, but trust me when I say that it's in both your interests to come with me. Why are we here? It's the Federal Bureau of Investigation's field office. You said you had a new lead on something, Brooks. Yes and no. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You didn't tell me you were bringing him. You couldn't be dead in an alley somewhere? Is this some kind of setup by your new boyfriend, Wendy, trying to accuse me of killing our son again? He's not my... Jesus, your breath. It's not even 10 a.m. Mom, Dad, stop. Can you two not fight for 2 seconds? I'm sorry. You shouldn't have to see that. I'm sorry. It's always nice to see a family getting along. Now, come on. Last night, a few local cops found a drifter in the mountain ash forest. Thankfully, he didn't put up much of a fight, so they brought him in for questioning and, well, see for yourself. And you're telling me you're some kind of dragon slayer? Among other things, dragons are easy. Fire trolls are a whole other challenge. Right. Did that man do something to Mikey? Is my son? Calm down, Wendy, and take a deep breath. Does that man look familiar? No, not at all. I've never seen him before. Why is he dressed like a Lord of the Rings reject? That's what he was wearing when we found him. But I need you to be absolutely sure. How about you, Brennan? Have you ever seen this man before? Why? Who is he? That's him. That's our son, Mikey. What? Dad? What are you talking about? That's... How can you not see? How dare you? You will look for any excuse to cover your ass, you bastard. A father knows. It's him. You might be right. Emphasis on the might. As absolutely insane as it sounds, we're considering all options. But, trust me, I know how crazy this all looks. We've already run a few prelim tests, dental, fingerprints, blood, and we're waiting to get DNA from the lab. All the evidence we gathered when Mikey disappeared is being put to good use, and we're not jumping to any conclusion yet, but we've been sweating this guy all night and getting the same story, okay? Just listen. So, let's back up a bit. Run through this again, double check a few things. You were playing catch with your father when you were kidnapped by... Never said I was kidnapped. It was destiny. Daddy? That must have been very scary for a little kid lost in the woods like that, all alone. You have no idea, but I wasn't alone. Daddy! Crack. Dad? Is that you? I don't like this game anymore, Dad. Ah! Get away! Gotcha. Yeah. We see 3 young kids with wings swoop up the little boy. This one is a whiner. At least he isn't heavy. Keep moving, Ansari, before it catches our scent. Oof. About to be a razor beast snack, Rook. If it wasn't a baby razor beast, he'd have been in real trouble. Nice stalking, Rhea. Let's get a look at this. Chosen one. What? You're just a runt, aren't you, hero? My Gideons and I took a mighty risk coming to Mountain Ash Forest to get our hands on you. But if you're our last hope, we might as well give up now. But, what? Spit it out, hero. What are you? Where? Name's Rook, and you're in Terranos, the meanest land in all creation. An ugly force of nature named God King Lore is trying to run us all out. Countless numbers of Terranos' citizens had been slaughtered merely for trying to defend their homes. But according to their prophecy, I was the one who would defeat Lore. They even assigned a partner in arms to prepare me. Rhea, you're on squab duty. Oh, sorry. Wrong. Rhea, you're on squab duty. Make sure our little hero doesn't get eaten before we get to the swamps of Serenity. And she's this, like, petulant little girl, like, Rook, no. Why me? He'll only slow me down. I'm not slow. I can beat any girl in a race. Easy. Ha! You heard the lad. He'll keep up. Rook! The Pale Rider is marching across the blazing valley with a platoon of her gargoyle raiders. Thought for sure the fire trolls would slow down that cold-blooded witch. Pack up the camp, now! Follow along quickly. Wouldn't want you to get left behind on your first day. Your fate awaits. But I want to go home. This is your home, hero. Look at that. That's a 2-page spread. An evil fairy army. Is that really the tall tale you're sticking with? The Gideons aren't fairies, and they are not evil. Hey, okay, so they weren't evil fairies. What happened next? The short version this time. Rook and the Gideons took me to Terranos because they needed me. But they promised they would send me home when I defeated Lore, when I became what I was supposed to become. A hero. It took many uneasy years. You'll never understand the horrible things I saw over there. But just as the prophecy proclaimed I would, I did it. I killed the god King Lor in the battlefield and restored freedom to the people after the hundreds of years of enslavement. Then Rook arranged for my homecoming, so I could hunt a league of war criminals that escaped to Earth and return them to Terranos before they allowed allowed Lor's bloody legacy to overtake this world. But first, all I want is to see my mom and dad. Oh my God. Mom, he's lying. It's a joke. It's a sick joke. He claims that time moves faster in this terror world or whatever. That's why he's so much older looking. Like I said before, it's insane. But the tests are matching up. The fingerprints alone. That's impossible. That can't be Mikey. It isn't. It isn't. Either way, he knows something, right? He even has Mikey's backpack and notebooks, but it's filled with gibberish. The lab geeks are checking everything out. No matter how nuts this all sounds, we're doing our best. But what he's saying can't be true, right? Like, I told you I didn't kill him. No one believed me. No one. But I'd never hurt my boys. And he's coming home with us today. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're lucky I even brought you here. If it wasn't for our history, I wouldn't have. Word has already gotten back to my superiors. That guy, Mikey or not, is going nowhere. He's a security risk. You should see what we found him. Security risk? How? First, I'm not going to have a crazy guy who looks like that rambling in the streets about in a fantasy world. And second, if even for a fraction of what he's saying is true, he's the first lead in an ongoing investigation of a missing child. Doesn't matter. You said it yourself. The tests prove it. Dad, slow down. He's our boy, and that means he's coming home. Jesus. Tap, tap, tap. My office now. Let's go. Sit tight. I'll be right back. We're nowhere near done here, Conan. Ha! You must believe me. The war criminals could spell the end of this world. Sure they do. Are you alone? Yes. Excellent. Do you remember your orders, fallen hero? Our agent of deceit and destruction? The vow you made to the God King Lor on the day of your defeat? Yes, all of Lor's enemies on Earth must be destroyed, so that my home can burn. That is the end of the first issue of Birthright. And hopefully you enjoyed it at least half as much as I did. I love this comic, and this is one of my favorite first issues of a comic ever. So many tropes, like we talked about before with Avatar, how it's not original necessarily. It borrows heavily on different things, and this book really evoked some things that I was used to. If you kind of remember, like the Terminator movies, especially the first one, when they have Reese, in the prison, and he's basically telling them like the future and everything, and they're like think he's crazy, and he's just like, look, the machines are coming and they're gonna kill you all, and they're just like, whatever. It has like a similar throwback to that for me. I loved the beginning with a kid going off in the forest, and it's just all like, birthday party, and then quickly turns into a nightmare. and this goes downhill, and dad's in depression, breaks up the family. I mean, I didn't like to see that. It was painful, but it served for heavy drama that puts a foundation for this story. And then you've got this really um, cool concept of a story where this kid is like the chosen one. And we've seen this kind of stories before too, right? In the fantasy, it's like, oh, there's a kid, he's chosen one, got to defeat the great evil. And you're just like, oh, okay, now he's back. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm following the story. And then it turns out that no, he didn't beat the great evil. The great evil beat him, and now he's like the right hand of the Dark Lord. He's essentially Vader, you know? And the twists and the turns of this story, all in one issue, all in one single issue. This is all this has had. So much happens. This book, I was blown away when I read this. And this made me a fan of Josh Williamson. This is the best thing that I've read from him. And he talks about here in this column here about Birthright. I don't know if you can really read it. But damn, I love this book. And, Sergeant Bats is in the channel. He did this with me back once upon a time when we had a show together. And hopefully if you stick with me, I'll be reading this over 5 more episodes to get, I think it's 6 issues. And then you can go back if you're so interested. I wouldn't do that now because it'll spoil things. If you want to go back and watch that episode that Bats and I did on this book and, read our takes on it at the time, you might find that to be interesting as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. What'd you think? I'd love to hear your feedback. Dominic says, issue 1 was a great setup for an overarching storyline. It's an example of how to make a first impression of a new series. Absolutely. That is right on the money. Few books that I've read have hooked me on one issue the way this did. I mean, there's books that I love, like Ascender. I love Ascender, but that first issue didn't grab me the way... I mean, it was a good issue, but this, Hawkman, which is one of my favorite comics in recent memory, it took about 4 or 5 issues for Venditti to really kind of sink his, nails into me and make me go, oh, there's something here. It kind of like led up to things, but it didn't. It just started off kind of like, hey, this Hawkman guy, he's running around, he's doing some archaeology stuff, whoop-de-doo, like it didn't. But this book, you're just like right from the get-go, boom, kid's missing in the woods. Like what the hell? Like you're gripped from the beginning. And I'll tell you what, this is probably the 4th time I've read this book now, and it's been probably a good year, at least since Bats and I did that episode. Probably long. I don't know. It's been at least a year. And that was the last time I had read it. And it feels as good this time too, reading it. I really enjoyed reading it out loud. And that's why I picked this book to do as my next series. Because unlike Gideon Falls, which I didn't know what I was getting into, I picked this one specifically because I did, and because I really want to share it with you guys. I think this book deserves more attention. I think a lot of people are skipping it because they're just like, oh, okay, whatever, it's a fancy book, it's Image, like sometimes you have to dive in. That's been the way for me in so many other books. Like Hawkman, I was just whatever. So, oh, look, there's a Hawkman book. Oh, it's really good, Ash. Oh, okay, whatever. Sure, that's great. I'm glad you like Hawkman. Oh, dude, you gotta read it. So good. All right, yeah, great. Issue 5's out, and fortunately, or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, DC decided to cancel all these books that I was buying. So I was like, well, I guess I got some openings in my pull list. Maybe I'll jump on this Hawkman series. It's pretty new. It's only got 5 issues, so it'll give me something to collect, and everyone's raving about it, and I don't know shit about Hawkman, so it'll be kind of fun. I like discovering new characters. And then boom, I like binged those first 5 issues, and then I was like, oh. And then issue 6 came out, and I was like, oh. And then issue 7 came out, and I was like, oh my god, holy shit. And that's been that way. So there's been a couple of books like that where I was just like, well, whatever. But because I actually got to read it, Bats is the reason I read Daredevil today. I mean, I was a big Daredevil fan in the old days, but Bats donated the first 3 issues of Daredevil to me on Comixology. So I have those digitally. I thought about doing those too, just to get people to see Daredevil. I might do maybe I don't know. But he's like, here, check these out, and I was like, all right. And so I read them and I did videos for him because I was appreciative, and it hooked me. I was like, whoa, oh shit, okay, this is better than I expected. So let's see. Comics Quirk says that was dope. Comics or Jimmy, I'm glad you appreciated that because I'm never sure what you're gonna do. If let's see, does the series still hold up in the new issues? I'm behind, so I can't say. Let's see. Sergeant Bass, you should check out the Super Sons live streams I've been doing, says Tehillim. Tehillim, it's done with 2 guests. All right, so Tehillim is advertising in my channel. Right on. See, Bats sent me a DM. I wonder what it could be. Do. Oh. So Bat sent me. Interesting. All right. I definitely want to check that out, Bats. I saw you had a picture when you posted your Batman pop picture. It was sitting on an Eden Zero book, and I was like, oh, Eden Zero is a book I want to check out. Speaking of Eden Zero and stuff and manga, I recently had been watching Fairy Tail, which is an anime / manga series. And I know it's pronounced manga, but I'm not Japanese, and I don't want to culturally appropriate anything. So I've been watching that Fairy Tail for a long time with my buddy and his kids, and it's a really good show to watch with children. They're 8 and 10, just to give you a frame of reference, and they absolutely loved the hell out of it, which I'm really happy with because I think they're going to carry that with them for the rest of their life. The same way I carry Robotech, was probably one of the very early shows, or a G-Force / Battle of the Planets / Science Team Ninja Gatchaman when I was a little kid, watching those shows that just stuck with me for the rest of my life. I think, and this show is better than both of those. So we watched it, and it's like 8 or 9 seasons. I can't remember exactly. And we just finished finally several weeks back that last season, and it's some of the most epic storytelling ever. Like, it just going through this series, and it's a fantasy series about a world where everyone's kind of a wizard. It's kind of like My Hero Academia, where like everyone has superpowers. Fairy Tail is like similar, but it's like a fantasy world where everyone's a wizard. And the people form like these magic guilds, and one of the guilds is called Fairy Tail. And the main characters, there's like 4 main characters, but there's a whole ensemble, and they're part of the guild. And the guild, they do little adventures. Like, the people of the world will like hire the guilds to do things for them, and so the members of the guild will take jobs from the little job quest board, and then they'll go on an adventure to solve the problem. And that's kind of basically that's the way like the hook of the show is, like to like get the characters on an adventure to do something. And in the beginning of the show, like the early years, they're just some simple little things, but the show keeps escalating more and more and more until it gets up to like the last season, where it's like saving the whole freaking world from like utter annihilation and everything. And the way it progresses is really cool. But what really got me about the show was about its sense of heroism and virtue. and things that are missing from comic books today. Things that um that's why I fell in love with comics so long ago. I mean, yes, it was cool, like the characters had really fun adventures and have really exciting battles and interesting villains, and that was all like dressing. But ultimately, I think what makes comics what they are, mainstream comics at least, the superhero comics, is that hero's journey. The same thing that I loved about Star Wars. I mean, I love lightsabers. I love the mythology of the Force, and I like the whole Empire and all the aesthetics and the window dressing that makes Star Wars. But ultimately, what I love about the original Star Wars trilogy is the story of Luke Skywalker and this little farm boy growing up and fighting for what's right. His parents get killed, and he doesn't want to stand for it anymore. And he wants to help his friends, and he has someone who's like, I can teach you how to be a Jedi like your father. And he's like, yeah, teach me. And he grows up and he goes through these trials and fights for his friends, and ultimately has to like save the galaxy, and he has to face his father, who's the ultimate evil. And in order to win, he can't fight because his enemy is his dad. He can't kill his dad. So the way he wins is he throws away his weapon and he chooses to love his dad instead, which wakes his dad up from his slumber and the slavery that the evil, wizard emperor essentially has him in throws, and says, and he's like, oh shit, you're right, I was fucking a fool, and it took the love of my son to wake me up. And Vader throws the evil wizard down the pit, right? And that's, such a fantastic freaking story when you boil it down to its roots. And I think all of you know that. I don't need to preach to the choir, but that's what comics did month after month, all the time. We're just telling stories about people helping other people and being friends to each other. And, you look at like the classic stories of Batman, right? It's like, oh, look, I'm at the circus, and these people like died in the circus and like left this little boy, like, and he has nowhere to go and stuff. So I take him in and I raise him up and I teach him like how to help the world and do better. And then in return, that young boy helps that hero keep his roots in morality and see what's good and why the world's still worth living, because he was kind of descending into darkness. And what they do for each other is the magic of Batman and Robin. And it's so missing in today's comics for the most part. I mean, there's still people trying to capture some of that. It's not totally gone. But as a whole, like, that was a commonplace thing. And now, anyways, so Fairy Tail has that in spades. It's all about, like, the main character. He's constantly just about his friends. He will fight to the ends of the earth to help his friends. And nothing makes him angrier than when he sees like a villain or a bad guy, when he sees them like beating on their own minions or whatever. He's like, how would you do that? That's your friend. He's like, and then there's stories of redemption. So it's like many times, like some of the characters that end up joining the guild are once upon a time where they're villains, and these characters set them straight. It's like, look, you're just leading a bad life. You're like led astray. And so some of these characters like, oh, and they come to find like, oh, it's a better life. I didn't realize that I could actually find people who would care about me and I could do good in the, anyways, it's a fantastic story. If you like anime, check it out. It is a little bit on the youthful side. So some people who want everything to be a little bit more serious and sophisticated, but some of the themes on it are very adult. And I don't mean adult in like a risque. It's not like sex and things like that, but I mean just adult in the idea of like love for your children and things like that kids won't really understand. However, there's enough in the show that kids absolutely will get, that it works on multiple levels. So I highly urge anyone to check this out, especially if you like My Hero Academia. That's the one most people have seen. It's like kind of on the similar level. And if you have kids that are like preteen, it's suitable for them. It has really positive messages, and I'm just really hyped for it. So I sit here and blabbed about it all night. Sergeant Bat says, Ash, you need to read Eden Zero. So yeah, Eden Zero, is written by the same guy, Hiro Mashima, I think is his name. I'm probably getting his name wrong. So I knew that had come out recently, and I was like, oh yeah. And now I'm way behind in it. It's like I remember when it first came out, and now it's got like 6 or 7 volumes. I'm way behind. Um, all right, read Eden Zero. Says manga is my new comics. Yeah, I like manga. For me though, the problem, it's not that that's a problem with mangas. Manga is different than comics. And it can never fully replace comics for me because it doesn't do all the things that comics do. It does some of the things that comics does, and sometimes it does in current day it does them better. But I like the collecting of comics. I like being able to go weekly and pick up a little issue, a little floppy. I like the American art style. I like the small dosage of it. I like the mythology of the Marvel and DC universes. I like capes. Superhero comics are sort of a Western mythology that I'm very attached to. And you're starting to see some manga approach it. Like My Hero Academia approaches superheroes really cool. But there's not a lot of that. It's only a few that do it. One Punch Man does an interesting take on superheroes as well. But there are exceptions to the rule, and that's so for me. Manga will always be like a side dish. It'll never be my entree. But I absolutely love good manga. Oh, cool! I got the name right, Hiro Mishima. So, you sent me that link. I'm gonna have to check it out. What you showed me. I've been thinking about subscribing to Viz now that I'm just sitting here locked away with nothing to do except blather on YouTube about videos. So yeah. I hope you guys. No one really said any feedback except for Quirk said it was dope. Hopefully you guys will tune in. I might stream tomorrow. It's tough. I never know when I'm gonna be able to do this. But generally around this time is a good shot. 10 o'clock Western time. So hopefully you guys are having a good evening. It's getting right around the 2-hour mark. So I think I'm going to start wrapping it up here. You guys are a blast to talk to. I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy sharing my love of comics. There's few things better. I'll say be too hyperbolic. There's few things better though when you read a really great comic that you're really passionate about and you can share it and love it. I know it's very easy for me to dive off on the salty end and bitch about all the problems and the shit that's out in books, but I love finding when people love comics like I do and they find good comics and then we can all kind of geek out on them and be like, wasn't that amazing? You know, I miss that a lot. Quirk says to do another book. Not tonight, buddy. I'm trying to keep this around 2 hours or less. So that the replay has a little bit of value. The last one went on too long, and it's not that I don't have fun doing it. Believe me, I could shoot the shit all night. Dominic says, I enjoyed Fairy Tale, but it can be hit or miss sometimes. Some things I enjoyed, other things not much in terms of storytelling, characterizations. However, I loved its embrace of the theme of heroism. Yeah, that's very fair. I mean, it's like 350 episodes. Like, it's a ton of episodes. So just like any TV show, not all of them are going to be home runs. But if you take it as a whole, if you watch all 350 episodes and then you kind of sit back and go, you'll realize that there was a lot of great stuff in there. Or even as a single season, just watch a season and then sit back and go, wow. Because each season kind of has its own story arc. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I watched it with my buddy and his kids, and then, you know, seeing their enthusiasm helped as well. I really enjoyed that they were like really loving it, instead of like watching some shit American show, you know, like fucking just makes me want to roll my eyes back into my forehead, and then like, it's really cool to be like, oh yeah, these kids are getting it, and I wish I was having cool shit like this when I was a kid. Um, so I don't know what I'm going to be reading for my opening issue next episode. I'm always open to good suggestions, but make sure if you're going to suggest something that it's not like for a big arc, like, oh, read the first issue of Oblivion Song, for an example. It's like I could do that, but why not? If something's meant to be read as a trade, save that for the second one. Looking for good one shots. I was thinking about picking up the new Batman comic, the Batman The Adventures Continue, with Ty Templeton and Paul Dini and stuff, the animated series. That has a lot of potential, so that'd be pretty good. Maybe doing that. So with that, guys, I hope everyone's having a good night. Paul says, keep up good work. For critique, add more variety to the characters you're reading. More variety. You're talking about like voice acting. I'll try, buddy. I'm no voice actor. So, when you see some of these top guys like Kevin Conroy doing reading and stuff like that, it's like there's a reason why these guys get paid to do that as pros. Like they're, Mark Hamill and stuff. These guys are proper. I'm just some schmo. I'm like you guys. I do my best. I try. But I will keep trying. Appreciate the feedback. And it can be tough too if I'm doing a cold read, because sometimes in books you don't know where the word balloon's coming, and I'm like, I don't know who even's talking right now. Like, what voice am I supposed to use? That can be tough. So thanks for being kind and not too harsh on me. Practice makes perfect. Yep, that is true. I will keep practicing. And hopefully you're enjoying it. I will see you guys hopefully soon, maybe tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Have a good night's sleep,